Good morning, everyone. This is Chris Koropati from Cambrian Lab. Today's session is on master data management for SAP, made simple and efficient. We want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time from your very busy schedule to join this session. We will follow this agenda here, where in the beginning, for a few minutes, we will introduce the panelists and give a brief intro of our experience with SAP Master Data Management. Following that, Justin Williams from Edgewell will highlight the use of workflow-driven master data management at Edgewell. And once Justin's finished, what I will do is provide an overview of our observations or experience with some of the SAP master data challenges. We'll also discuss how workflow-driven approach has been fairly effective. I'll give a quick demo. Following that demo, we will have Suresh Shenoy from Buckman joining, and he will provide an overview of their use of workflow-driven master data management to address some of their needs. The last 10 minutes or so, we'll keep it open for Q&A. In terms of Q&A, the easiest way to ask questions in Q&A is to use the Zoom bar. And the Zoom bar provides two options where there's a chat and then there's Q&A. Feel free to type in your question anytime as this session is going on to the Q&A. We'll keep a tally of those questions and towards the end answer as many questions as possible. If you're not able to answer the questions in the time that we have today, we will answer via email. Once the session is finished, once we get the recording, we will send you all of the presentations as well as the video recording via email. Okay. With that, we have two panelists, and I will be the host of the session today. We are very happy, pleased to have Justin Williams from Edgewell. He's the Global Data Governance Solution Enablement Manager there. Suresh is the Supply Chain Functional Lead at Buckman International.
You're joining the call with two.
And I lead product management at Cambrian Lab. So we will be covering most of the topics together today. A little bit about Cambrian Lab. We are a Northern California-based company with teams in different. So we work quite a bit on some of the topics related to supply chain, NPI, and part of the key capability to support supply chain excellence we've observed is master data management. Okay. And I think most of the folks that have joined the session today, quite perhaps agree that good master data is very critical for operational excellence. And we're always surprised how many functional areas that master data touches. Everything in an organization relies on good master data. And one of the things that we have observed when working with SAP customers is SAP master data tends to be a struggle for most organizations still. And we will explain, where some of the sources of those challenges are. But nevertheless, it has a fairly significant impact on some very real operational aspects of the company, right? From sales to product launches to maintenance to supply chain performance and so on. So it's fairly important to be able to, improve master data processes. And based on what we have seen, and we've worked with several SAP customers on master data management. Here are some of our high-level observations. One is, and this is a big one, continues to be significant non-value-added work, in terms of Excels and emails, people sending requests, coordination, and all of that creates a long cycle time and it becomes a fairly expensive business process, and we'll show, how it becomes expensive. Another thing, especially with respect to SAP, is a very high level of expertise is needed to be able to work with SAP Master Data. And, that's hard to come by lately. And in general, it takes a lot of experience to get, high level of expertise, a lot of time too. And another thing that we have noticed is business users tend to be out of the loop. They may provide some initial information, but they're not actively in the workflow, if you want to call that. And a lot of traditional MDM approaches that we have seen provide, fairly what we would consider to be limited ways of handling master data. And of course, different master data elements, and what we would consider to be fairly common workflows too, that center around master data. So all of this, of course, creates a real obstacle for operational and supply chain excellence. And another thing that we would want to put to rest this whole concept of master data management is most definitely not entering data or data loading. That is the wrong way to view master data management. It has to be a collaborative business process where people are involved, make it easier, and the change propagation needs to be fast. Okay, so with that, I will hand the session mic to Justin. And Justin, I can drive the slides if you want to unmute and share your thoughts. That would be great.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so I'm Justin Williams. I work for Edgewell Personal Care, and we work with Chris and his team at Cambrian Lab on the zFlow tool for master data management. So he asked us to talk today about a couple different things. So you could go ahead to the next slide, Chris. So the first thing we wanted to cover with you, just to let you know, the kind of the approach we've taken with all the projects we've done so far. And we've been using zFlow for a little bit more than a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And this is the framework that we use to implement processes. So we start at the top of this circle here at the initiate, where we define the problem, and then we go down and do a kickoff. And from the kickoff on, you can see all the little steps have a megaphone on there, and that's really to indicate that is like a checkpoint meeting. So all the stakeholders are brought together. We do one call, and we go through the findings, basically everything up to there. So the kickoff is really to start it off. Hey, we're going to do this to solve this problem. And we gather all the requirements and everything. We go down to the next step where we do the opportunity. So this is, what did we find from that? So we come back and let everybody know. And then we start doing this collaborative effort, which is on the bottom right, where it says collaborate and develop. And really the key point here is this is an iterative process. So we're working with the users to do this development. So we define what we want to actually work on, and then we start building it, and we test it with them throughout the process of that development. And one thing we do in this thing is we keep track of any other stuff that comes up, and that goes into a future enhancements list. And then from there, we keep going around the circle. So once we get everything working the way we wanted, we go do this ready checkpoint, we show it off to everybody, then we get ready to roll it out. And that's where we start pushing forward to get it into production use. And then we do the rollout checkpoint and move it into production, that kind of stuff. The users actually start using it. And then typically about a month later, we come back and do this recap checkpoint to get feedback on how it went, how it's working, those kind of things. And then basically from there, we have this other blue step over on the far left that we call iterate and version. And all the stuff that we identified, or any stuff that users came up with, gets on this list, and we get back together And we say, okay, how beneficial is this? Do we want to do this process for any of these additional features? And then we'll go through those. And each of those that we do will basically end up starting this process all over again. Okay. And really the point of that is if we find something that we will get value from by implementing this thing, we don't want to bog it down and have scope creep and take a year to implement something that could have been done in a month or two. So we try to keep pushing forward with what our initial scope was, and then we just come back around, and continue to improve the process going forward. Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead. So far, using ZFlow, this is the stuff we have looked at, stuff we've implemented, stuff we're currently implementing. We'll go through a couple examples today on the next few slides, but really we did stuff around costing, pricing, the weights and measures management, specifications in PLM system. We're looking at materials and customer and vendor creation as well. And then the supplier portal at the bottom is, we're about to go live on that one. This is for PO collaboration. And I guess I probably should have said this, but we also use SAP. So all of this is kind of SAP interaction. Okay, go ahead. So the first one I want to talk about is the costing. This slide really shows what we were doing before and where we found opportunity at. So one thing I'll explain for maybe interesting how we handle stuff is we have two separate SAP systems. We have one that all the manufacturing processes are on, and then we have one that all the order to cash processes are on. They're completely separate SAP systems. So because of that, there were one of the processes that was kind of a pain is this costing, because all the manufacturing costing is done on the one side, and then that all has to be updated on the other system. So we have these three different things really happening. One where each year we update all the costs, and then during the year we might have one or more materials that need cost updates, like new materials or something changed, that kind of thing. And then finally, we have a data health report that compares those two systems and tells the finance team if something doesn't match, and then they would have to go in and fix it, right? So these are the three processes that we were doing before. You can go ahead to the next one, Chris. So basically, those three processes now are handled in this through ZFlow in this one process. And we basically take anytime those instances occur. So, when we do it each year, or if somebody needs to make an update, or even if the data health report finds something that's wrong. So if the data health report finds something that's wrong, we will create a ZFlow process for that so that it can be corrected. And basically the shift here is now finance can directly make sure everything is costed properly and in sync. And then you can see at the bottom, we have this, what opportunities we identified, and then what value we got from this. So instead of sending emails and ServiceNow tickets and all this kind of stuff, we don't have to do any of that anymore. It just happens through the ZFlow process. And we were able to minimize any user interaction because basically ZFlow updates SAP directly. So it doesn't have to go to the MDM team to manually make those changes anymore. So they all just happen automatically. So there's no user errors. And the turnaround time is basically instant. As soon as they process it in ZFlow, it's already updated in SAP. Whereas in the old way, they would find what change they wanted, create a ServiceNow ticket for that. It would go to the team. Someone would pick it up and do it. It could be the next day even, that kind of thing. So really a big streamline in all these processes. And then the automatic updates. So whatever they're doing is directly what's being put into SAP. Okay, go to the next one. And this is our value slide that we like to show after we finish implementing one of these. So we have like time on the left, how much time do we save? So in this instance, this is for estimate for a year, based on whatever we had the previous year number of entries and that kind of thing. So we had 156 hours of work that we saved with this. And it actually improved our data health score quite a bit. So before this, we were at 90%, and they were manually working the fails. And then now having them automatically go through zFlow, we went up to 98%. And then the days to update, I kind of talked about that on the previous slide, but basically it's immediate. So there's no delay to that update. So that's much faster. And then the number of areas involved is really cutting out MDM having to manually do it. And then on the right-hand side, we really want to make sure the time that people are spending is value added, right? We don't want to do a bunch of work and spend time on things that doesn't add value to what we're doing. So no more ServiceNow tickets. They just approve whatever updates they want in the zFlow tool. Okay. And then the other one I wanted to talk about today is really around redundant data entry. So this is for our weights and measures process for finished goods. And this is the current state, or what was the current state when we went to implement zFlow, I should say. It's not our current state today. So this is really the process that the packaging engineering team went through when we're setting up new finished goods. So they would have to basically get a request for this material. It would have a material number assigned. That part they didn't do. But then they'd have to create it in PLM. And then they create a spreadsheet with all the data on it that they would send to the sales team. Then they would put this spreadsheet, all the data from the spreadsheet, into each of our systems, which is PLM, WP1, and go-to-market. Okay, so that's what those initials all stand for. And that's 3 different systems that all get the same data. So now they've keyed this data into a spreadsheet. Then they keyed it into PLM, they keyed it into WP1, and they key it into go-to-market. And in some places they can do copy pasting. And in some places they can't. It's just a lot of extra work, and obviously very prone to somebody making a mistake and having one of these systems not be in alignment. So you could go to the next one, Chris. So this was what we, that looks kind of weird on my screen. Hopefully it doesn't look like that to you guys. Oh, there you go. This one is what the new flow looks like. So we kind of cut out a couple pieces. We didn't change them emailing the data to sales just because of really what we talked about before, with focusing on the one thing we wanted to improve and then coming back later to add anything additional. And we also didn't touch the creating the PLM shell here because that's a whole nother system that we would have to deal with, a whole nother piece of the process, not really directly related to the weights and measures data itself. So we wanted to address that separately. So we leave those kind of alone and then take the rest of that process. And instead, basically what we do is we're going to have, hey, they filled out this spreadsheet, which they're going to email to the sales team. Let's take that spreadsheet, put it in zFlow, and update PLM, go-to-market, WP1 all automatically. And then the system will finish. So now we know all of them are in sync. There's no typos or copy paste errors. And not only that, we save a bunch of time with them having to re-put in the same values into every system. So basically,
Yep.
oh, do you want to say something?
No, should I move?
No, I was going to point out one other thing, which is just over here, we have the same kind of thing we saw before with opportunity and value. So really calling out what opportunities we had, what we wanted to touch on, which is just that part we addressed, right? We didn't do anything with the other tasks. And then the value is like, what are we going to get from doing this? Okay. So it's very similar to what we saw on the cost side. You can go ahead, Chris. Thanks. And then same slide again. So this is what we got after we implemented it, what we found. So we found 81 hours. The packaging engineer team was spending 101 hours about a year. And now that with the new process, it's about 20 for the year. And then we were able to do all the stuff for data health, eliminating the data entry errors and getting everything in a standard template, that kind of thing, instead of them just emailing it. We don't have to do any more manual entry, right? So we eliminated all three of those systems. And then I didn't really talk about this, but we had an extra group that was doing part of that. So they would actually do one of those entries, and that is gone now too. So now it's fairly straightforward. They just do the ZFlow task. It's really the only place they maintain the weights and measures data, and then it updates all the systems down the stream. So you can go ahead. I think that was it for me. So unless anyone had any questions for me.
Yeah, so the questions will be typed in. What I'll do, Justin, is share those questions with you. I know you have to join another session, but I want to take this opportunity to thank you for sharing your perspective and experience, and especially the fairly innovative way of handling how to identify which master data workflows can use improvement, and how to quantify the value. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, Chris.
Thank you. So with that, what I will do is, kind of really highlight what we have seen as some of the challenges or approaches that are very common in the customers that we work with, and how do you handle that using digital workflow-driven master data management. Part of that, it'll also give you a short demo of how that comes together. And then we'll open it up for Suresh from Buckman to join in. So if you really see master data, obviously we have seen different domains, from materials to suppliers to manufacturing and SKUs and equipment and customer, right? So what we have seen is a lot of the needs, as well as what needs to be done with master data, are kind of described as specific workflows and how work gets done around the needs of master data, whether it is creating something new or different types, different elements of master data. We'll cover that, and different completely related pieces of master data, right? So some of them can be quite complicated. For example, you think of moving items from site to site, equipment from site to site, right? Creating a new supplier, or it can be expressed as new supplier onboarding. And that's a whole business process, but also handles quite a bit of master data along with it. So we've seen this as the very dominant way customers think about master data, not just, oh, I have a material, I need to create a material. And so once that is done, what we've seen is there are, as Justin has explained, their workflow requirements for handling master data come in many, many shapes. One piece of information is cost. Another piece of information is pricing conditions. And you can have as many workflows as needed, come into the tens of workflows. We have already seen some for customers having 50 to 60 workflows supporting various master data scenarios. So you should be ready for that, because that's how business thinks of master data scenarios. And by and large, master data is very, very cross-functional. It is just not one person sitting in and filling in data in a master data tool or or directly within the system. It does involve various actors. We'll show that example, and they ought to be able to join in these workflows and provide appropriate information, or provide approvals, reviews, things of that nature, right? So very, very cross-functional. And another thing that you will notice is this is how people think of how work should be done, especially around master data. Okay, not sending spreadsheets around and getting somehow things done. So this is important to be able to support the way business stakeholders work. Another thing that is very, very evident to us is that especially around SAP and specifically Material Master, because Material Master touches everything, there are many, many, many pieces of information related to that master data, and also different elements that are not directly associated, or visible in the Material Master itself. All of them we have seen have different types of workflows touching some parts of it, all of it in many cases, and different elements of master data, right? And when you think of master data, you need to be able to support workflows, as well as automating creation changes to these types of information as well. And the other thing that we have seen is some of the data can be originated in other departments. Very common for materials is things originating in engineering, and in some cases sourcing, as well as maintenance, right? So many workflows start there and end up as master data workflows, and we'll cover a couple of examples like that. And one thing that, if you do not have a fairly intuitive as well as integrated process, some of these processes can be very time consuming. They're very expensive because there's a lot of waiting time and actually a lot of non-value added activity into that. People, as you've seen in the example before, typing in the same information like 5 times, right? And it can be, the cost can add up, right? It'll something like a new material creation and extension. We have seen some examples where it's approaching, $200, $250, right? And takes like 25 days by the time it's all done. So this is a common issue that we have seen because of how things are done. And when you start to add all of the different master data processes, this can add up quite a bit. I mean, significant costs involved in master data, right? Because there are so many types of changes that happen, and processes that are in and around master data, core master data, as well as master data elements. And of course, if this is the situation, if such high costs are there, you might want to be able to see, hey, what's the way we can reduce that cost, and what is the investment, right? So we've actually helped some customers understand the activity-based costing around master data processes, and how can you reduce it, and how do you build a business case. So those are some things that we'll cover. And the approach that you take for master data can make or break the business case. If there's a $100,000 problem and the solution is $500,000, it doesn't make sense to do it, right? So you need to really balance out what is the real master data problem cost, and how much do we have to spend to reduce it and make the case very, very strong. Okay, so with that, what I'll do is we're going to show a small demo of how we approach master data management. It is very, very workflow driven. One of the things is that we've spent, because of our expertise in supply chain, we've embedded quite a few master data domains directly as part of the workflows, and the integration with systems like SAP comes out of the box, so you don't have to think of it as a separate topic or capability that you need to add. And many of the workflows that, as Justin has suggested, they are do-it-yourself workflows, which means business analysts and DM teams can build it themselves and continue to improve. That's one of the major things that we have observed is master data workflows don't remain intact. They need to be continually improved to take advantage of more opportunities that are coming up, right? So you need to be able to handle improvement cycles that are very, very fast, like within a week or 2 weeks and so on. And what I'll do is show you a quick demo, and then we can open it up for Suresh to join and provide his Buckman's perspective on master data, right? Okay, so what I'm showing you is a ZMDM here, Zflow MDM. And the first thing that you will see here is there are different domains that are supported with a large number of workflows. For example, if you think of material master data management, the types of workflows that can be designed can come in different shapes and forms. Something as simple as new part request, new material creation, to NPI to production transfer. There are lots of ways people or companies, organizations support master data processes. Similarly, there's suppliers, new supplier requests, to all the way creating suppliers in our case today. We'll keep it focused on SAP. So many things happen around suppliers, blocking, unblocking, new suppliers coming in. Same thing for customer data, as well as e-commerce. That this primarily relates to finished goods and other retail articles. But importantly, it's also pretty important, critical to support different types of master data elements, things such as bill of materials and routings, production versions, recipes, and specifications, right? These are all master data that is essential for you to be able to set up production plans, and they also need to be supported as part of workflows to collect the information as well as create and update in SAP as seamlessly as possible. What I'll do is take you through one cycle, the way it works, and then you can see how things come together. Say, for example, we want to create a couple of materials. The way workflow-driven solutions do is, they describe everything as a workflow. In this case, I'm asking, let's go ahead and create 2 materials. We want to request 2 materials to be created in SAP, and the workflow drives the whole process here, right? So what's asking me is, give me the description. So I'm going to say LNX or ZF 2704 material. I will add another one because we're going to do 2 materials, and 05 material. So as I try to fill in, it's going to ask me to fill in other relevant material. So as a workflow-driven process, the whole workflow is described as a series of activities performed by fairly cross-functional teams. For example, in this workflow, there are several roles designed, from finance to inventory ops, master data group, manufacturing, and different actors, like the people within your organization will come in and provide input, participate in this workflow. It is not something as one person is going to do this job. Okay. Another big aspect of it is described as a workflow so that it follows the process that is involved. And during that process, it does a number of things. One is it'll ask the material master group to get the catalog number, right? They can automate the process or manually put in. It automatically creates a material in SAP as part of the process. This is what we call the shell, so that it's the basic view is created. And following the basic view, people come in and put in manufacturing, pricing, costing. Once those three aspects, pieces of information are provided by finance and by manufacturing, we'll go ahead and again update SAP, so the more views are created now, right? So if you think about it, it is happening exactly the way business is envisioning how we go ahead and create materials. This type of workflow is something that you can design it yourself. Okay, so now let's go back to the step that I was talking about. Let's save this, it's good. And I'm going to say, hey, this is Z4Next. Promoting to design stage, which means, we need to have these two materials in place. I'm going to submit this. Please get catalog numbers. Okay, so done. Complete. Because if you now look at the workflow, it's already sent it to the material master group. So this activity has become current, right? So generally, it sends an email to people, whoever is the actor. In this case, we've actually got the pre-notification. Right? Something like this will come. Hey, this is what we are sending. Please go ahead and fill out. Okay, your activity has been sent. Current activity is material get catalog numbers. So I'm going to log in as material master team so that you will see what they see, right? Once they get an email, they can select and they come here directly. Okay, I'll search, retry, master, retry. I'm going to pick MDM analyst. Okay, I logged in as MDM analyst, and then we just got that, hey, go get catalog numbers for this. And it exactly tells the user what to go and fill. Okay, so this is what is required. So what I'm going to do is take this number for now, but generally, we've seen people get the material issued. This can also be a scenario where Zflow itself asks SAP if there are internal sequence numbers provisioned to the sequence numbers for this type of material, right? If it were FERT or different types of material that you can pick. Even that can be automated. In this case, we are just going to go ahead and assign external numbers. Okay, so as far as material master group involvement is concerned, they're good. They're done with this. And I'm finished, so I'll go ahead and complete this. And once I'm completed, as you can see, the next step, this whole integration, it happens as part of the workflow. So exactly like how people will do it, right? Once I got the catalog numbers, let me go ahead and create the basic view, right? So here in this case, the material is created in SAP. We got Zflow directly connected to SAP and created this material, based upon an interface. So now if I go ahead and log in into SAP, okay, and let me go here. Okay, so if I go ahead and do the MMO3, CF, here we have the two materials that were just created. So we have the basic view and the information that was there, the description has become description here, the material number has become material number, and we have a few other defaults like basic unit of measure that we used. Okay, so that the integration happens very, very naturally as part of the workflow. Now, if we come back here, now it is with manufacturing. So I'm going to log in as manufacturer, manufacturing engineer. Let me just actually log in as admin and finish those activities. Let me go to fix. And the current step is manufacturing. They're supposed to provide some information around plant. I'm going to say, yes, Fremont is where we're going to make it. I'm going to save changes. Nothing about sales info and valuation info because it's not the manufacturing engineer's role to go ahead and fill in, because then that can be hidden too. So I'm going to complete it. So now pricing comes back, where we have to make sure that the sales org and distribution channel are corrected. Right? These can also be defaulted, so you don't have to worry about depending upon the type of material, the plant selections. All of that can be designed as part of the workflow design, and it can be done very, very quickly in just a matter of hours. Okay, and once that is done, we're going to go ahead and save it. Okay. Complete the pricing, costing is done. We're going to provide some standard pricing. So as you can see, this it follows exactly what you think of should happen. All right, so look at this workflow here. We are done with pricing, manufacturing is done, and you have the complete log of how the workflow is progressing. Another thing that you can also get is timeline. This is a fairly important one. What used to, how long is each of those activities taking, right? It's a very, very good piece of information to get the, improvement opportunities. Where are we spending a lot of time and where can we optimize it? So let me go ahead and finish it. And I'm going to do costing. And done. So now, the system has actually gone ahead and extended this information with additional information that we just got, right? So if you now go into SAP and go back and open the same material, okay, so now you'll start to see purchasing, accounting, finance, general plant, all of that, right? So more information is being added to. So you can follow this process the way it should be done with the correct people involved in the workflow and direct integration to SAP. So you can streamline this as well as minimize the automate the whole process or integration, especially so that the data is collected, goes in with appropriate reviews and approvals and one shot directly to SAP. Can also support multiple SAP systems, as we have seen in the case of Justin. That's a big challenge that some of our customers have on how do they have a lot of different SAP systems between manufacturing and warehousing, logistics, and core ERP, finance. Handling this, you can string together all of this into one workflow. I'll pause here and give the mic over to Suresh. Suresh from Buckman has just joined. Thank you, Suresh, for joining.
Thanks, Chris. And team, again, apologize for joining late.
Yeah, no problem. We've kind of timed it so that your session comes right after this.
Okay.
So
okay.
I will share your slides, and
Yeah,
and then you can go ahead.
Yeah, if you can maximize this. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, good morning, all. This is Suresh. I'm part of a global IT SAP team here in Buckman. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. So Buckman is basically headquartered in Memphis, Tennessee. We are leaders in we are manufacturers of industrial chemicals. We have our presence in North America, LATAM, EMENA, APAC, and China region, especially including South Africa. Our main customers are paper mills, water treatment divisions, agriculture, oil and gas, and leather divisions. We have verticals here, and we have a single instance on SAP ECC6 with the S/4HANA database. Moving on to the next slide. We have engaged zFlow Cambrian Labs for the last 2 years. We have been extensively using this master data maintenance tool, especially on the material master creation, extension, and customer onboarding. We also used for creating the cost centers as well. That is another piece of the master data we are using here. For the last 2+ years, we are using this workflow, and the business stakeholders are the active participants here. They are getting the email triggers as and when the respective requesters are submitting, and the tasks are needed for their approvals. So we have a regional localization, especially in Latin America, Brazil, Argentina, and even in APAC regions like India and all. So those localization requirements as a part of master data, whether it is material master or customer masters, are also taken care in these templates. These are very simple and self-explanatory, and we are hardly spending enough. I mean, people are like, we need only a few hours of training. So it's very easy. It's a web-based one. It's easy to configure and roll out based on our needs. In Buckman, we have a single sign-on, so you don't have to remember your password every time to log into MDM. Maybe we are going to cover that in the subsequent screen, but it is based on your Microsoft single sign-on. You can straight away log into your zFlow tool. Chris, can we move on to the next slide? So this is on customer onboarding process. Before introducing the zFlow system, the request used to come from an Excel-based file, and emails used to be triggered from multiple users. And it was very difficult for our users to get the required information. Most of the time it's an incomplete information, or the formatting and all were like messed up. Now with the introduction of the zFlow system, the requests are coming with the accurate information. We have some what we call the default rules, wherein we said that, okay, if Tennessee is the state, system will allow to enter only regions from Tennessee or the pin codes from the Tennessee states. Those kind of automation also we have done, and I think that is a big win for our existing business. And in terms of cycle turn, earlier it used to take like close to 3 to 4 weeks for one customer creation. Now with this particular tool, we exactly know who is holding up the particular task, and the requester can chase that approver or approver's authority to get the required task approved. So we have a better visibility when it comes to zFlow tool, that I can tell you. Moving on to the next slide. This is like an overview of the Buckman zFlow tool. And on the left-hand side, the yellow colored is a login with Microsoft. That's the SSO link. You don't have to remember the login ID and password. And based on your access level, on the right-hand side, you can see the list of the tiles you are authorized to perform. The first one is for the customer master onboarding. The second one is the plant extension, creation, third, and then the cost centers. So it's an easy web-based tool, I can tell. And if you can move on to the next slide. Yeah. So yeah, if you look at the process, the requester, he can submit the request and that immediately it will go to the MDM review, the master data management team. They will review. It can be a single person or a group of people who are responsible. They will review just to make sure that it's not a duplicate entry from other users as well. Once they are happy with the basic address and the field information, they will approve, and that approval task will trigger an email to customer service, and customer service team, they will review the pricing related information and other relevant fields, and then they approve. Once they approve, the next level is the sales manager. Sales manager will check whether the divisions or the customer hierarchy, all those information determined by business is accurate. If it needs to be changed, they will update and they will further approve. And once the sales managers approve, it will go to the divisional manager. Divisional manager, it's more like an information message. If at all they want to change, they will have an access to update the fields relevant for customer hierarchy, or again with the division and the industry. And the final approval is with the MDM team. Again, they will validate all the content. And when they finally approve at this task, it will make a connection to SAP, and system will create the material, system will create the customer master as well as the customer hierarchy. So if you can see that there is a notification on the right-hand top corner, it will clearly shows the details about the customer information, customer details about the customer hierarchy, address, all the information, and it will trigger a notification to list of the users or the participants who are required to get those email notifications. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, can we go back one step? Yeah, if you see that the last step is a finance, wherein it's more like a credit control. If at all the supplier is sold to, we want our finance team to do the credit check, and so that they can remove the block and maintain the credit levels once they get the information from zFlow. Yeah, next slide. So this is on the material master. We have two sets of master data for material, two sets of tiles for the master data. One is a creation of new material, and another is extension of material. So if you can see on the left-hand bottom side, it is all about the views which are required for material master. So each of the tasks, each of the nodes are linked to separate approvers, or it can be combined one based on your need. And coming on to the right-hand side, before zFlow implementation, we used to have a lot of people getting involved, and they were like required to remember a lot of rules specific to each material type, whether it is how are the trading material or the finished goods or the raw materials, the value changes, the MRP elements, the procurement, the plant data view, the warehouse view, each and every information changes with the material type in our industry or the plant. So remembering those rules was really difficult. With automation and bringing those automated business rules into zFlow was very easy, and it has streamlined all our business processes. It has reduced long wait time for material master creation. And from global data governance perspective, we are really doing good job on that. Whether it is at a global level or at an entity level, it was a big win for us from here. Can we move to the next slide, please?
I think that's
the last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have any question on those customer master or the material master specific to Buckman, I'll be happy to answer your question. team.
Right. Yep. Hey, Suresh, thank you very much. Thank you very
No
much for
problem.
sharing the details of your experience and what you're seeing, within Buckman, that benefits. So what we will do, we have about 4 minutes left. We have several questions on the list here. We'll take this remaining time to answer those questions. I think several of them are answered already. We will send all the answers to you directly. So a few things that are highlighted here. In terms of direct integration to SAP, how is that accomplished? So we have a direct integration to SAP using what is called JCO. So it essentially, you don't need any more middleware. So as part of the workflow activities, I've shown you the demo, it connects to SAP and submits or gets information from SAP based upon pre-described business APIs, BAPIs. So we primarily use BAPIs to connect because that's our preferred approach, because workflows are very real-time in that fashion. You don't have to send document and wait for something to happen. You also get very rich information. The message is back from SAP, so workflow actors can see what is happening. And if there are any errors, especially functions, or if SAP connectivity is not, due to network or so on, not available, the workflow can wait until that's all it's available, the connection is available. Also, you can recover from errors without, as part of the workflow, retries. Okay. There was also another question, can update other programs beyond SAP? Yes, zFlow can. As you've seen in the example that Justin was describing, they actually connected to their custom application developed on SQL Server. They also have, we've also enabled connectivity to Salesforce, any solution that has Coupa. So any solution that supports REST APIs or web services, you can directly use zFlow itself to connect to them. Is it possible to use zFlow to take a company instance in SAP with master data and have it replicate to other systems? Could it be? Yes, you do. You can replicate. And generally, the more common approach is, as part of the master data creation itself, it'll connect to all the different systems, relevant systems, and update those relevant systems with appropriate information, right? Sometimes we have seen, if you have ECC, S/4HANA, there's some slight variations to have to do. You can also accommodate those variations. Others, these workflows in SAP or outside of SAP? These workflows are outside of SAP. More common zFlow, you should consider it as it is closer to your Outlook or Active Directory type of. So primarily any user that has an email can participate in zFlow workflows. Right, it is not necessary for users to have SAP login to be able to participate in workflows and be actors in the workflows. So that's one very big advantage, which means anybody in the company or even in the supply chain can participate in these workflows. Yes, both data changes, creation and changes are supported. And since there are a few more questions around compatibility, zFlow, because it is using Java connector, which is a SAP library, it can support a wide variety of SAP versions from ECC all the way to S/4HANA, the latest S/4HANA. Yeah, so the primary scenarios are related to, since the connectivity is always happening through BAPIs, we use the definition of the BAPI to work with the information. Now, that said, we do support a wide variety of domains. It is just not, a domain like Material Master may be very specific to SAP, but it is also used in many other systems. Origination of that domain generally is in engineering systems. We integrate a lot with engineering systems. So you should see master data domains as above and beyond what SAP has always. Something like Salesforce has a very different view of an account and a customer and a product versus what SAP has, Material Masters and Customer Masters, right? So zFlow is you can see it as a mediator between all of the systems. So we tend to accommodate the master data needs of multiple systems and support those systems in the most appropriate fashion. I know today's session is a lot around SAP, but that's the real use case of zFlow is also beyond SAP. There was also a question of can zFlow provide some updates, automatic updates internally as part of the workflows? Yes, you can set up rules. It can, manipulate data as part of the workflow within itself, and then that capability is used extensively in the examples that we had today. zFlow is primarily accessed via browser, so that means anybody can log in. There's no need for SSH and others. Okay, so with that, what I will do, we are at the top of the hour. We'll close the session today. Again, we want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking a very valuable 1 hour off of your schedule this morning and to join the session. Once the video recording is available, we will send you both the presentation deck as well as the recording. Please, our contact information will be there. Feel free to send us a note if you have any questions, or we'd like to offer, if you want to try, you're more than happy to support free trials or free pilots. Okay. Thank you very much again. Have a great day.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.